Oh, sure. New Braunfels looks like the perfect postcard place to live from afar and even up close, but that does not tell the whole story. Do not move to New Braunfels unless you can handle these 15 things in today's video. If you are new here to my channel, thank you so much for coming aboard, because every week we're trying to put out relevant and timely information just like this about what it's like to live in New Braunfels. And what it's like to live in New Braunfels is what we're talking about today. Do not move to New Braunfels unless you can handle these 15 things. And I really wish I had the heads up on at least half of these things before I decided to move to New Braunfels 6 years ago. Do not move to New Braunfels unless you can handle the sticker shock of your utility bill. We're seeing our second rate hike since last year on water, power, and sewer services. Water rates are up more than 13% this year, up 4% from last year. And you can see a lot of residents here shocked at their bills, some paying double what they used to pay. Now, there is an explanation for this, although it goes in one ear and out the other. I know no one, not including ourselves, we don't like high utility bills. But the city-owned utility company approved these hikes so they can pay for a new headquarters, also add infrastructure to a growing population, and upgrade existing infrastructure. Our electric bill alone, the electric portion out of the water and the sewer services, just the electric bill alone is pushing towards $200 a month now for us. And we used to pay $80 a month, so it's more than doubled. Higher utility bills, adding infrastructure, improving infrastructure has everything to do with our growing population in New Braunfels. So do not move here, do not move to New Braunfels unless you can handle our population explosion. We have gone from 58,000 residents in 2010 to almost 110,000 today. That's almost double in 14 years. That means longer lines, that means getting to parks and shopping places a lot earlier than you used to, or not, and then you just have to park way back to get to where you need to go. Our spiked population now means heavier traffic in New Braunfels. So do not, and you're gonna see what I'm talking about in just about a second here, do not move to New Braunfels unless you can handle the heavier traffic here. And it's gotten to the point in New Braunfels where you have to plan your days. Look for yourself. Here's what it looks like on our main highway through New Braunfels when we have an accident. It's a parking lot there. It's slow going or no going at all. Now, you can never really plan for road improvements until after growth happens. We can exhale because the city is working on adding lanes to secondary roads in New Braunfels, and the state has already addressed some of the main roads, including adding lanes to the highway in and out of New Braunfels and adding lanes to our main loop and long-term plans. This is a corridor that's blown up residentially the last few years. The state plans to add lanes to the often congested State Highway 46 between New Braunfels and Seguin. Do not move to New Braunfels unless you can handle all the building going on here. Thousands of new homes are either lived in or under construction right now, with more to come. New master plan communities, an explosion of new apartments in New Braunfels, new commercial developments, especially at our big box shopping area, Creekside. More developments are planned from downtown to uptown New Braunfels. Homes, thousands of them. Do not move to New Braunfels unless you can handle the rising prices of homes here. Median price of a home in city limits went from under $250 in 2020 to $316 today. Home prices in New Braunfels Hill Country have also increased by almost 10% year over year on resale homes. So if you can't handle rising home prices in New Braunfels, do not move here. But if you can get over that hurdle and you can handle the rising prices of homes in New Braunfels and you're going to purchase a home here, do not do it, because many people don't know about this until after they moved in. And then they're like, what? Nobody told me about this. Do not move to New Braunfels unless you can handle the water restrictions here. We were in a stage 3 water restriction for 2 years. At that time, you could only water your grass once every other week. Today, we're in a stage 2 water restriction. We can now water our grass once a week instead of once every other week. Now, these restrictions, they're growth related, they're weather related too. So do not, and many of you move here from sunny 76 degrees, do not move to New Braunfels unless you can handle our weather here, our drought conditions. It can be downright brutal if you're not used to it. Triple digit summers easily. The heat starts early in the morning. I mean, when you 8:30 in the morning and peaks around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We haven't had much rain to talk about the last few years, except for the last several months when El Nino paid a visit to New Braunfels, dumping above average rainfall, but it's been dry the last 3 weeks, and the long-term forecast looks dry too. We get the occasional ice storm, typically in January or February. We even get that fluke snowstorm. Outside that, it's hot and dry. Our climate and our growth impact our rivers and lakes. Our river levels are down. Instead of floating down the river, you may find yourself paddling with your arms instead. And good luck finding an open boat ramp at popular Canyon Lake. That's because Canyon Lake is 56% full. It was 76% full last year. Not only are water levels down, they're dirty. So do not move to New Braunfels unless you can handle not so clear water. On any given summer day, whenever it's warm, we have tubers, swimmers, kayakers, canoers, ducks, and deer all sharing, all enjoying the water. That, unfortunately, makes it a haven for bacteria. We have higher E. coli levels in the rivers. State regulators say that 60 to 75% of the bacteria in our rivers comes from wildlife. So do not move to New Braunfels unless you can handle the wildlife here. Deer are everywhere in New Braunfels. You may be used to seeing deer when you go hunting in remote places, but there is nothing remote about deer in New Braunfels. They're everywhere. I see deer every morning when I'm headed to the gym. I see deer here when we're filming at Landa Park. I see deer driving through neighborhoods, and they're not shy. They just plop right in front of your house. Deer are just part of the landscape, part of the DNA in New Braunfels. And so are creepy and crawly pests. So do not move to New Braunfels unless you can handle insects, snakes, and just all kinds of pests. Because we're close to water and we have warm weather, we draw mosquitoes, especially in the summer months. Fire ants too, these things. I've had these guys sting my feet more than once. Scorpions take up residence in New Braunfels as well, often sheltering in homes, especially during hot, dry stretches. Our warm weather temps also attract termites. We see spiders too, including the potentially dangerous black widow and brown recluse. Snakes also slither around New Braunfels. Most are not dangerous, but a few are, including coral snakes, the western diamondback snake, and copperhead snake. Not nearly as creepy or crawling or frightening. We see tourists here, a lot of them. So do not move to New Braunfels unless you can handle sharing your city with up to 3 million visitors a year. New Braunfels is a resort town, so it's understandable with our 2 recreational rivers, our lakes, our popular water park Schlitterbahn, restaurants, shopping, historic downtown, historic green. Those things, plus our year-round events and activities, had tours spending, get this, $1.3 billion in New Braunfels in 2023. But the crowds can keep residents away from events, activities, and our amenities during peak periods. And tourists also add to the traffic here and the longer lines, but they also add to the city's bottom line. This one's important to know. Do not move to New Braunfels unless you can handle living in a conservative town. New Braunfels has a long history of voting Republican in local, state, and national elections. Do not move to New Braunfels unless you can handle a mostly non-diverse population. If you're looking for a melting pot or a city that kind of feels like a United Nations, people from all over the world, New Braunfels just isn't the place. The latest census data has the majority of residents either white or Hispanic, which explains the next one. Do not move to New Braunfels unless you can handle pretty much eating the same food all the time. Of course, Texas and New Braunfels is known for its barbecue, ribs, brisket. We have German food here, which reflects our heritage, as does our Spanish food options. Outside all of that, plus the millions of Tex-Mex options, there's no real specialty restaurants or grocer. No French food, like Austin has Ethiopian food and other world foods, no Mediterranean food here. Nothing really different here. Do not move to New Braunfels, and some of you may rely on this, but do not move to New Braunfels unless you can handle the very limited public transportation system. Now, New Braunfels is working on a more extensive system like surrounding cities, but nothing yet which means we're still very car dependent in New Braunfels. You may or may not be able to handle this if you're used to walking everywhere or just you don't drive. This is hard to believe that this may aggravate people, but if you're antisocial or just a homebody, I get it, but do not move to New Braunfels. Do not move to New Braunfels unless you can handle friendly people. In my experience, people here in New Braunfels are genuinely friendly. They're trusting, they're giving, they're cordial. They say, yes, sir. They say, yes, ma'am. They hold doors open for you in New Braunfels. If you're on the road, the residents here, most times they give you the right of way, and the people in New Braunfels are approachable. Do not move to New Braunfels unless you can handle these 15 things. I want to hear from you now. Did I miss anything here? What is your list if you live in New Braunfels of things? Do not move things unless you can handle your list. Let me know in the comment section below. And if you can handle most to all of these things in today's video, and you're thinking about moving to New Braunfels, then taking that next step, of course, I'd love to be your real estate resource of choice. You can email me, you can call me, or you can shoot me a text. As always, thank you so much for watching our videos, and we'll see you on the next one.